let me do exactly that. Let me return the favor for you, because that is what I like to do every Thursday, because it's all about Transformational Thursday, where we bring you stories of people's life journeys that basically aspire to inspire. People whose life stories epitomize that word like that I like to mention, grit. And like I say, life is a journey. There are ups and there are downs. Hata kama ukifika the summit, imagine that's only halfway through the journey, because once you get to the top, you definitely must come down. A hill, a mountain, hata maisha. And this gentleman's story basically epitomizes that. I love it because, you know what? And if people, I just like to have a conversation, right? But he sent me the story of his life, and it's titled 9 Moments of Serendipity, a memoir at 39. Love it. And then he gives the 9 pointers of his life. But this is the thing. Growing up, do you know that point in life where actually your life took that turn at the roundabout? Can you pinpoint yours? What if it happened early on in life? Do you remember when that was? This distinguished gentleman was brilliant at it, but he wasn't happy with it. He is our guest in studio. He's just celebrated his 39th birthday. He's now focusing on 40. Started his first company 10 years ago. That would be 2014. Pivoted the next year in 2015. In the interim, he was the CEO of an institute. And he has been a writer in one of our local dailies for the past 10 years. He could write a book at the young age of 39. Lend me your ears. In studio on this Thursday, it's all about Transformational Thursday. Aspiring to inspire. You're going to love this story. I give you Marvin Sissey. Marvin.
Hey, Pat. You're being too gracious.
Oh, no. Sometimes, when you read or listen to people's stories, because me, I've been reading, so obviously the listener is going to listen.
Yes.
Like, aye, Chief. Na mimi je.
Everyone has a story.
Which is true.
And it's just that whenever anyone gets the moment to reflect and think back about the story,
right,
every story is really great.
Do you know, Marvin, I like the way you said here.
Yes.
Okay, and you do say, and excuse, I got a B+ in SWA.
Oh.
And I worked in that for 3 years. Lakini, remember, I'm from the Kavirondo Basin.
Yes.
So the Swahili saying, because it sounds so much better in SWA.
Yes.
Aliye na bahati kama mtoto aliyezaliwa
Ijumaa.
Which translated means?
Basically, as lucky as a baby born on a Friday.
I like that. So, Marvin, let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
You were born on a Friday, November 22nd, 1985.
That's exactly my year of birth.
And you're very honest.
I am.
In the sense that you say, dear mama and the muzee and mom, they were young, they were in love.
They were teenagers.
They were teenagers.
Yes. And
then you say that you're not sure whether you are going to be birthed.
Obviously, I mean...
how do you have that conversation with the folks? Who told you that story?
Now, here's the thing.
Yes.
The thing is that, and maybe this is another time, is
yes.
I actually just got to know my mom and dad as later on in life.
Right.
Because I was brought up by my grandparents.
Indeed.
And when now being explained, I think when I'm around age, almost 10.
Right.
In terms of this is not your brother, this is your father.
Right.
And your mom exists somewhere.
Yes.
So it is at that particular juncture that you now get a historical focus of, this is exactly what happened.
Right.
So it's a beautiful story if you think about it, because it's a story that happens very regularly in our African society.
That is so. Thank you.
It's actually a very normal, regular story.
Yes.
But it's a story not well told or not enough time told.
That's true.
But it's a story that happens every now and then.
So here's Marvin.
Yes.
Mom obviously gives birth to you. She's young.
She's young.
She's got to go back to school.
She has to go back to school.
And so you're raised in the village, in the county. This is Vihiga.
Oh, this is Vihiga, yes. Vihiga is home.
So you're taking, obviously, these are your grandparents.
Yes, my grandparents. I think my grandma or grandpa, at that particular juncture, my grandma says she had a baby fever, but she could not sire a kid. So she felt there was a blessing in terms of his son actually getting one.
Right.
So I think my grandma was very specific that, once this baby is brought to term, I want him.
Oh, very good. Very good. And that is one of the moments that changed your life.
I feel so.
Yes.
In a big way. In totally a big way. Because when I think backwards, I wouldn't have imagined, wished for, hoped for a better set of parents.
I like that.
I wouldn't.
I like that. You've got to live stream this, and to live stream, you've got to get onto spicefm.co.ke. Marvin, before you go on, what are your handles, Mr. Sissey?
At Marvin Sissey on Twitter, at I think Marvin Sissey on LinkedIn. That's it. Marvin Sissey is Sissey.
You kind of also just read my mind. Now, there you are. Speaking of minds, then your father, there you are. You're in school in the village, and unacheza tu. You're a young child.
Yes.
And then your granddad notices something, and there's this boy is a bit of a bright spark, because up until that point you're average.
I think joining
you're lukewarm.
When you're in the village, everyone is. You tend to go to school as a matter of it's routine. So the rest of the kids go. You are supposed to do a couple of things.
Yes.
And it's actually not really my grandfather. The person, I had a teacher in my lower primary school.
Yes. Madam
Mabunza.
There we go.
And I think Madam Mabunza, she had this knack of identifying talent. Almost, the way Arsene Wenger used to identify prodigies in football or a good coach. I think she was similarly. Right. Now, what happens is Madam Mabunza apparently happened to have taught my dad.
Right.
20 years earlier or 30 years earlier. So she was one of those older teachers in the school.
Yes.
I don't know whether it was the memory of my dad or just me, but she seems to have a specific reference for this kid. You could do better, not where you are.
Yes.
And I remember having to hear that every end of term.
Right.
You could do better. You could do better. At one point, I had to start imagining, maybe she's right.
Right. I can do better.
I probably can.
So then what happened next, brother?
She taught me only for my lower primary. And every time she taught me, I actually didn't do that much better. Then she stopped teaching me at upper primary. I went to upper primary. I got a different set of teachers. None of the new teachers were telling me, you can be better. But now, all of a sudden, I was remembering what she told me. And I think I became a top student from that time on. This is around class 4. So for me, that transformation, I have no idea what happened from being an average kid in class to topping class by mid-primary is, for me, I can't understand what happened.
Yes.
But I became a top student, class 4, class 5, class 6, to the extent that my old man now, my grandfather, was like, you're becoming too comfortable. Maybe the school is a problem.
Yes. And then we change schools. Then we go to secondary. And
that's why, Kwach, maybe I have to reflect back and think, when I just told you that I turned 39. You're saying young, but the years start weighing on you.
Indeed.
And you start imagining, are you where you are today because of your own making?
Right.
Are you where you are because you're smart?
Yes.
Are you where you are because you're intelligent?
Yes.
Or are you where you are simply because life had a series of lucky breaks for you?
Right.
Because, being born of teenage parents, let's be honest.
Yes.
You are a teenager.
Yes.
All options are on the table.
That is true.
So I believe being born is lucky.
Right.
Getting this teacher who is about to retire in a year or two's time,
right,
and finding that she can inspire you that early in life.
Yes.
That's a lucky break
Indeed.
that not everyone gets to get. So I'm looking at all those in terms of what are this series of lucky breaks,
Yes.
these millimeters,
Right.
that if it slipped the other way around,
Right.
you'd have ended up in a different trajectory altogether. And I believe that, looking at myself today,
Yeah.
I go back and I'm thinking, it's been just a series of lucky breaks.
A series of lucky breaks.
It's not me. It's just a series.
It's just a series of lucky breaks. Then
Yes.
you are challenged because Madam Abunz is there
Yes.
in lower primary.
Yes.
Then obviously, your granddad, Muze tells you, this one now is becoming too comfortable with from lukewarm to top of the class, but he's becoming too comfortable.
Yeah, becoming too comfortable because the gap was becoming wider between you and number two. And then it's like, now maybe the school might be the problem.
Yes.
Now in every village there's an alliance.
Indeed.
Yeah. So there is that school that people are like, this is the school.
Yes.
So in our village there was one. It's called Gidimo.
Yes.
We all feared it because we were told that they had a headmaster who used to ken students, called Gunyugu member, and everyone was afraid of going to that school,
right?
Because of the discipline and everything else.
Is it still there?
It is.
Yeah.
And my grandfather was happened to be a friend to the head teacher there, Gunyugu.
Yes.
And I think they were just arguing one time.
Yes.
And I think he mentioned to him, me, I have my son is doing very well in this school.
Right.
And Gunyugu was like, are you sure it's just the school? I mean, that's a mediocre school.
Yes.
Bring him to my school, then we can see whether he's good enough.
And then
so they gamble.
And then so you make it sound like a bet. But then one thing, Marvin, that you get to the school.
Yes.
And I don't know whether the headmaster challenges you or both of you, and he tells you something that to me is very profound.
Yes.
That if you do what, then you'll be given certain things. What is it?
Actually, the point is, it's actually between him, because they're friends with my grandmother.
Yes.
They're almost age mates,
Right.
elderly,
Right.
I mean, including the head teacher.
Yes.
So he basically tells him, bring your son to the school. You're saying is number one in that school.
Sharp.
If he becomes top 10 in my school, you won't pay a thing for class 7 and 8. I mean, that's... So that sort of drives my old man to say, okay, next time you're going to this school.
Yes.
Of course, I only come to learn the gamble letter when I'm no longer paying anything.
That was going to be the question. Because then that also...
Yes.
transitions, and as we transition, look at the Luo coming out.
Yes.
As we transition into the news, then that takes you from the county, that is Vihiga.
Yes.
Then we transition. Your life then comes into 047 Nairobi.
Exactly.
We're going to get to that
Well,
after the news, because the news is coming up.
Please.
But Marvin, now in these formative years, what are you listening to in Primo, my brother? Because we asked you for a list of songs, remember?
Can I remember what I was listening
So there's Maxi Police, there's The Wide Worlds of This World, and then also there are few Lingala songs. So in these years, what are they like? Wild World, Maxi Priest. What is that? What memories does that song evoke?
What memories? Most of my musical tastes have emerged recently. I think in my primary school, I was listening to whatever my grandfather was listening to on radio, which was mostly KBC General Service and whatever songs that would be there. So a lot of my immediate in terms of musical tastes are emergence after I come to Nairobi.
So we're going to play you Maxi Priest after the news. Perfect. Then when it's done, you'll tell us what memories those evoke.
Okay.
The Spice Drive, the official.
I wanted to play another song so that I could just converse with our guest today on Transformational Thursday, but then again, that would be me being selfish, would it not? Indeed. Because, and I do say this, every guest that we have on Transformational Thursday, to me, is profound. And I hope for you, it is also, at least in terms of time and the consuming, the story is a bit unique. But how many times do you meet that individual where it could be life-changing? That, my dear friend, is the person that we have in studio today. Indeed, it is the official hour for one of my favorite times of the week. The hour where we bring to you stories of people who aspire to inspire. People whose journeys epitomize that word we call grit. This guy literally wears it like a t-shirt. He's an individual where from the beginning, literally, of his life, his journey, the big word that he uses is serendipity. And you'll get to experience it because you will hear it. A gentleman who, in his formative years, he was basically raised by his grandparents in Vihiga because his mom gave birth to him when she was still a student. She went back to school. He went to live with his grandfolks. And you would think, and as he says it, there you're literally on a knife's edge. You could go left, you could go right. He went right. He was a bit of a child genius, he was. Then again, does genius ever really leave? But they say most geniuses are a bit boiled. Did that check in? Well, I'll tell you what. He was the CEO of the Insurance Institute for 2010 to 2013. He then started and says, you know what, let me start my own biashara. He started one in 2014. Then he pivoted in 2015. He has been, he's got a syndicated column that he has been writing for the past 10 years in one of our local dailies. He has done so much, but as he approaches 40, which do you think it's still the new 30, by the way, bro? Was that just what? Do you feel 60 or do you feel 30? Let's put it that way.
I feel 28.
I love it. Good one. You've got to live stream this. It is spicefm.co.ke. Our guest in studio today. Oh man, I give you Marvin Sissey. Marvin, once again.
Thank you. Genius is a big one. I'm as ordinary as they come.
Please. Marvin, for one who wants to follow you, please, and get on to Spice FM KE, by the way. And kama kuna swali to ask Marvin, let's go there. Or better yet, dial that number 0719012600. Marvin.
Yes.
What are your handles there, first of all, please?
My handle is Marvin, Marvin, Sissey, Sissey, on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Beautiful. That's that song by Simon Nkafanko. I like how you said, because obviously you before the news, you said, because I asked you, what songs were you listening to in the youths? And you're like, and you're very honest. Obviously, I was listening to what the folks were listening to.
Yes.
So that's not a thing, because, But this song that we just played, you say that the Sound of Silence, that you listen to it when, brother?
It's my meditation song. It's a song I listen to because I do a lot of reading. Generally, I think I read at least 2-3 chapters every day. And what would happen is Sound of Silence puts me into that specific mind frame to meditate, to think.
And as a philanthropist, as a business person, as a husband who's in love, and as a parent to 2 kids. Yeah, father, 2 kids. Where do you do this? I mean, clearly at home. But what I'm asking is, are you there in the TV room?
African parents don't count children. We have many children.
See, sorry, boss. So is Madam listening? Chief. So I'll pivot quickly.
Yes.
So are you in your study or because you see there are a lot of guys, Marvin, Yeah, and they listen to you now. Because clearly you do that. You decompress. You're meditating. There are a lot of our peers who do that in their cars.
I do. My work, how I normally do, because I'm up at 5 every morning, and what I'll do is at 5 every morning, sometimes before I go to the gym, I'd have like 30 minutes. I'm lucky enough to have my gym and my office next to each other.
Sharp.
Owning both of them helps.
Yes.
But yes, I'll sort of just like 20 or so minutes to sort of just decompress. So right. In my decompressing, I'll do two things. I'll write something. I call it my morning pages. I learned it from some work I was reading. I found it really helpful to write a page of anything, and this is normally my unscripted thoughts. And so I'll write anything for 5 minutes, and then I'll read anything, just a few. And during that specific time for writing, I might not be listening to anything, but during that time for reading, I'll listen to something.
I like that. If you know Marvin, and like I said early on, the word serendipity is big with him. And he 9 points in his life that serendipity played a big part. And basically, those points have led to, in this journey, to where he is today. One of those points was in terms of education. This guy is in Vihiga, and clearly at that point, there was no county edition. Being raised by the grandparents, and first of all, there's a primary school teacher. All right. Madam who again? Abunza. And she says, hey, this one is not lukewarm. When are this one a bit too clever? And then, so from mediocre, I hate to use that word. Let me use the word average.
Okay.
Then he becomes tops of the pops. Lower primary, he's average. Then suddenly, because of the guidance of this lady, he then becomes the top student. And obviously, as he says it in the village, that number one and nani, so you become a bit complacent. Is that a word?
Complacent is the word, yes.
And then the grandfather, who's obviously raising him, his grandparents, says, I think this boy can do better. And meets his peer, who's a headmaster of a school somewhere, and says, by the way, my chap is a bit of a bright spark. That headmaster says, hey, you're sure? Maybe not. So they have that tete-a-tete and says, listen, do this. Bring your boy here. And if your boy is in the top 10, he's basically going to get a scholarship. Not only is the boy in the top 10, he is number 1. What school is that again, brother?
It's called Gidimo Primary.
I like that. He is top of the pops. So clearly, we're in Gidimo Primary. It's still in Vihiga, bro.
It's still in Vihiga.
Sharp.
Yeah, it's in the village.
Now that means, but because there can only be so many number ones, but number ones tend to go somewhere. How did we pick and choose the school that we went to for secondary? Because that is now a national school.
Lenana School.
And it's the school that actually also my eldest bro went to.
Oh.
And a lot of distinguished people in this society have passed through those gates.
I think what happened is that I think during that time we used to have this period where you're choosing schools.
Yes.
And because traditionally, no one had ever gone to a national school from that school. I mean, the top schools were going to a provincial school. So
unasikia.
The top schools.
He was the first.
So it would be Chavakalis and Nyangoris, the top schools in Western Province.
Yes.
That's where there was a lot of guidance.
Right.
For the national schools, it was picky, ponky, and no one cared. You just, there are schools there, pick, because you will not go there. Sure. So you're not necessarily thinking about it.
You're just filling in boxes.
Yeah, so I chose Lenana because it's alliterated well on my syllabus. Like, it sounded nice. Lenana. I'm like, oh, okay, good. Let me choose that one. So it was by chance. Another moment of serendipity. Right. That's why I say I didn't mean to. I mean, it was just any other school, and I thought this school sounds nice. It's the kind of school that I would want to be on my CV.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was just purely by chance.
And then, so that is it. And then,
so that's it. Yeah. So that's it. And then we go do our KCPE and then all of a sudden the grades come in, and you are not just top of your school. I think you are among top in your county. You're in the newspapers. It's a big deal for everyone. Right. And you don't realize how big a deal it is until you realize you have a national school calling letter for you.
Right.
And that changes my life. I think Lenana is the reason I am who I am today in a very big way, in terms of just the adjustment and change from the village boy I was, I mean, as good as it was, to whom I am today.
Marvin, let me ask you, so changes
it is.
Changed your life?
In a big way.
If, as you sit here, and obviously you're going to, I like asking this question, you're going to pen you're a writer.
I am.
The one thing that you would advise some as a parents who are sending their kids to changes next year.
Yes.
Right? What is that one take home you tell them? What's that one piece of advice you tell them to give their boys? As you're dropping them at that gate, or rather wherever you drop them.
Changes gives you one thing. Changes gives you the freedom to choose.
I like that.
It does. It is one school where the moment you dropped in, the teachers say, you are here. We are not here to teach you. We're here to guide you, to facilitate you. So if you have a kid who you believe in him, you need to show him belief, and they make the choices they want, Lenana will allow him to make the choices he wants, they want.
Wow.
So he'll be nudged in the right direction, but he'll ultimately make the choices and the decision he wants to be.
You speak well, my friend. Now, so it's a 4-year journey in changes. This is 844 time, ne?
844 time, yes. It's a 4-year time in changes. It feels like 2 years. I mean, it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had for schooling environment. Remember, for me, everything was an upgrade.
Yes.
You are from the village. Yes. The food feels perfect.
Yes.
The environment feels perfect. And, for the first time in your life, you're actually meeting competition. You're no longer number one every time.
I mean,
you actually have to sweat it to become even the top 10 in your student, and which is really beautiful. Yes. And you are introduced to, I think I played cricket in high school. I played chess. I played touch rugby. I was too small to play actual rugby, but everyone has to play rugby at one point when you go to Lenana. So you think about it, and all these particular games, because Lenana is huge. It's 250 acres.
Yes.
It's probably one of the biggest schools in this country.
Yes.
And the enormousness of that school offers you perspectives in very major ways. Firstly, it's in a forest environment. It's a very good scholarly environment. And you would be surprised how formative the late teens are on a human being. Because to date, the people I call my friends, the people I call my peers, the people I can count on, are people I met in Lenana.
Wow.
Yes.
The bonds were deep and strong.
The bonds were deep. They were strong, and they were perfect. So it's a school I respect.
Marvin, you said something very interesting. Where you're right. When you're in the patches, the changes, and the bushes of this world, you must play root.
Oh, yeah. Rugby is important.
And you say you're small.
Yes.
Yeah. But if one looks at you now, obviously, you own a gym and you go to the gym every day.
Yes.
But is this body a gym body because the end result of whatever happened in...
I had a growth spurt in Form 3. I had a growth spurt. I think what happens is, firstly, the good food. Sort of helped. So I think around Form 3, I just had a different... just today, and I'll show you, there was a photo that was shared on my class group. And, for a while, I was joking them earlier because I didn't realize I was the one on that photo until let me just show you here.
Yeah.
But you see that photo on, I don't know how you describe it, but there's someone on your top, on your
Yes.
on your bottom left.
Yes.
Yes, that's me, apparently.
I'm sorry, you were tiny.
Yes.
It's not good to body shame, but I'm sorry, Jeff, but one would think in Swahili wanaitwa mbilikimo.
I was small.
Yeah.
I was pretty small. And I'd been the smallest in all my initial learning environment, even in my primary school.
Were you bullied?
I think what would happen, the beautiful thing is that despite the fact I was small, I was a little bit social and a bit sharp. And
Yes, yeah. You see a small guy with a brain,
so my
brain box.
wit would help me to move around once in a while.
If you're live streaming,
Yes.
I mean, there you go. I mean, can you see that tiny thing there? Yeah, can you? Yeah.
Yes, that's me.
Can you see that tiny thing? Imagine that same now. Compare and contrast. So focus here and then focus on him. Anyway.
Yes.
So
I couldn't even tell. Yes, I was tiny. So what would happen is that everyone, regardless of your size, you had to play rugby at one point because we had an inter-house competition. So if you were tiny, you'd still
you're the hooker, were you? Or?
No, you'd play touch rugby.
Okay. Sorry.
Within ourselves, of course, because you are whatever. But then, if you're playing, you could play maybe on the line, probably just one of the whatevers. But mostly we just play touch rugby among ourselves.
Right.
But we had, some of our classmates, someone like Sydney Ashoya used to play for Kenya Sevens, was my classmate. In the same class, same year. So a number of the individuals, because the rugby culture was very deep. But not just that. I mean, I had to get a very good chess rating while still in high school, and exposure to other sports as well, which is where I think we fail today when we find that a lot of our parents are more interested in the scholarly aspect, the academic aspect of schooling, and they forget that what makes a person is actually the whole extracurriculum activity.
Indeed.
Because when I think about my life, I feel my involvement in the extra activities other than books and academics played a big role in who I am today.
Do you know because we will dwell on that, because obviously in terms of exercise, vis-a-vis in terms of the well-being in life going forward, even where people are in today, we're going to get to that. But then when we talk about, when you talk about, I want to talk about now the academics, because here's Marvin Sissey.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're clearly a bit of a sharp pencil.
Okay.
But in terms of the sciences or the math and then humanities, something happens while you're in high school in the lead up to campus. What is that?
So what happened is that I think at around I was doing music as my extracurricular activity.
Right.
But what would happen is that I broke my voice around Form 3, around when Form 3.
Yes.
And my teacher told me that despite the fact that you're doing very well in your music class, this new broken voice might not necessarily help you in the practicals when you want to do your Form 4. So could you might have to drop it, and I had to do it. So music was called a cultural subject. So you used to have a technical subject, a cultural subject, humanities. That's how they were arranged.
Right.
So I ended up doing all sciences, and then history and theory, which was, I didn't mind because I was good in all.
Yes.
I was good in sciences, I was good in the humanities. And yes, I was able to score an A in all of them.
Yes.
And so what happens is that I thought when I'm going to the university, I'll choose whatever I want to do. Right. But I was told, no, wait a minute. You don't have a cultural subject. You can't choose a humanity best. You have to choose a science.
Yes.
So I was either to do medicine or physics related or engineering related or something around biology.
Yes.
And as much as I was good at them, I didn't fancy them really.
Yes.
So maths was the only one that I would think of and say, okay, I think I could do maths. It was this job, where job has told you this is a cluster and this is what you can do. So it was one of those, you go into university and you're doing what job has told you to do.
Job is Joint Admissions Board.
Job is Joint Admission Board, yeah. So then it's now called COOPS or something today.
Yes.
So I ended up doing mathematics a bit. I didn't want to, but that's exactly what I ended up joining to do initially.
And
as my first degree.
A lot of people, some people understand this, but most people don't. Where it is easy for you.
Yes.
But you don't feel it.
That's it. I mean, there's a difference between, because our academic system is very weird. Because I find that it's really about what you can memorize and what you can be able to do. So I had the gift of very good memory. I could remember everything that I'm being told. But I wasn't really feeling it. It wasn't one of those things that I'm doing it and I'm like, thank you. So everyone was thinking, because you've got an A in maths, which I did, got an A in maths in KCC, that you were gifted to do maths in going forward. But that was not it, really. I couldn't. But when I come to think about it, because I was forced to love it, now that I'm doing it, maths ended up being a very key factor. I call it one of my serendipity factors.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I brought it up. Yes.
I mean, I ended up having to do communications later, which was my heart was. But I found that the analytical capability that I learned using my maths degree was critical in terms of how I think today. It gave me the diverse capability to think both technically and as well as artistically. And that has proven to be very helpful in the diverse interests that I've ended up developing.
I like that because, we're leading up to that because it is a journey, my brother.
It's a journey, yes.
Now, another pivotal moment is while you're in Campo.
Yes.
And this Campo would be the University of Nairobi.
The University of Nairobi, yes.
And again, Marvin, what are you studying?
Mathematics.
Right, you're studying math, which is easy. Okay, but it's not challenging for him. So then, as we are there, you're embarking on a journey that, in terms of extracurricular, there is a pimp juice, otherwise known as Kong.
Yes.
And a life-changing, pivoting moment for you happens while you're in campus, in terms of your relationship with alcohol. Tell us about that story.
So I started alcohol a little bit, and this is the other thing about maybe what happens while I'm still in high school.
Yes.
So when I was in high school, around that similar time is when I reconnected with my actual biological mom. So I actually came to Nairobi, and I found my mom, my stepdad were here, and we were able to reconnect. My stepdad used to work in a hotel, I think Norfolk or something. So they would be given a lot of these high-end whiskeys, and over Christmas, the family would enjoy, and including, I would be exposed to them. Everyone would be able to drink once in a while. So over the holidays, anyone could, just enjoy one or two. So that's how I started developing a taste to alcohol and high-end alcohol at that. And what would happen is that after I finished my Form 4, it became a thing. I think it was just the freedom that you can actually imbibe from time to time. What I didn't realize is that it became a bit of a problem because I had a specific peculiar problem. My problem was I wasn't getting high.
But
I had what we call a delayed high syndrome. And a delayed high syndrome, which is something what happens is that you drink, but your liver doesn't process the alcohol immediately or at the same level that anyone else is drinking on the table. So what would happen is that you would probably drink a little bit more than you need to. And you'd sort of your block or your break would, because it would come. But it would come a little bit later. But this later would be anywhere from 3 hours to 4 or 5 hours later, which could sometimes be very inconvenient. Sometimes it could hit you at sometimes very inconvenient places. And what would happen is that when I got to the University of Nairobi, I also got involved myself in student politics.
Yes.
I was the organizing secretary of SONU.
Come on.
2008.
Yes.
So I was social and I was everywhere during that particular time. And I think it was in run-up to the campaigns.
Right.
And anyone who has been at the University of Nairobi politics know they can be very thorough.
Yes.
So I think the bit of the stress is around the campaigns and everything else. We were with some of my colleagues at a place called KBC. We had a place called Club 36. Club 36 is just behind,
Yes.
I think, Box or
Yes.
somewhere
Yes,
there.
yes,
so
yes.
that's where you'd first
Ah,
get
know
your
it very
initial
well.
drink.
Yeah.
And then after
Yeah.
Club 36,
Yes.
you chop up makali
Yes.
kidogo.
Bas.
And then now from there, we had tax-free.
Right.
Nini booze, you would get beer at KBC.
Yes.
It was cheap, I think
Yes.
30, 40 shillings.
Bas.
So after that, after finishing Club 36, you
Bas.
would, walk
Yes.
across Uru Highway, go to KBC there,
Bas.
and just near Boulevard,
Bas.
and you'd get some more to
Yes.
drink. Now
Yes.
proper brown bottles,
Bas.
and what would happen is that it was an occasion we do often,
Right.
but there's this particular juncture. I'm in my third year,
Yes.
and I've just finished my drink because I knew about my delayed high syndrome. Immediately after drinking, I would go to my room so that my blackout would find me in my room.
Bas.
But this time around, I think because of the politics, we had a lot of talk and chat, and I forgot myself. So after drinking, I think I took a bit more time
Bas.
on the other side of Uru Highway than I knew. And at this particular juncture, when I feel like, let me go back, I think I just crossed Uru Highway, and that's the whole memory I have. Because the next memory I have of me is my friends coming to me in my room in the following morning, and they're telling me, bana, hii kitu imekushinda. Jana tulikuokota Uru Highway, and you were almost hit by a car. So what would happen is that I think my blackout just got on me immediately after
You
crossing
just
the road.
crossed the road.
I just crossed the road. You know where they've done
Otherwise,
the flyover,
you'd have been a
where the
speed
museum
bump.
hill.
Yes.
Where the museum
Yes.
hill is.
Yes.
So where the museum hill roundabout, I think nowadays is what? So I just crossed the road. I think they've built a new purple structure around there. Just crossed.
And
then,
you're right. When I read I read your story,
Yes.
that, my friend, is God telling you it's not your day, boss.
Yes.
That's a serendipity moment as well, right there.
That's a big serendipity moment.
So of course, because and you talk about epiphanies, and you then wake up, they tell you that changed you.
But what happened is I woke up the following day and I have this colleague, these friends who come to my room in the morning. Firstly, I can't understand how I got here. And they tell me, yesterday we basically, carried you, and you are not even aware of yourself. Someone recognized you. So one, being a student leader helped identification. Other students were able to identify, we know this guy. He's one of our student leaders.
Oh, because of course you're just
Yes.
like there's just a body lying
Yes,
somewhere.
there's
Yes.
a body lying somewhere. So guys were like, this is our student. We know him.
Wow.
So being a student leader helped. And two is that when I arrived there and guys were talking to me, I could read the concern. These are ways that people can talk to you, Quach, and you can be able to tell this is not banter.
Mase.
These guys are serious.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what happened is that after that, I just, I didn't talk much. Nilifunga virago. I decided, let me go to the village. And I go to Vihiga. And what would happen is I get home, and the first person who opens my gate is my old man, my grandpa. And one way or another, we used to have this language where we didn't communicate to each other much. But you could be able to tell a lot with each other just by someone looking at each other and what is the problem. There's another side bit of my story. I just lost my actual dad a few years earlier. Like now, this is around 2008 when this is happening. I'd lost my dad. I lost my dad at 39, 2004. Guess for what? Alcoholism.
Wow.
So my grandfather has just buried a son who was his only remaining son, and I'm now the grandson who is now adopted as his son 4 years earlier. And my grandpa could tell. He was the only person in my life who actually knew I had a problem with alcohol because he had seen my dad. And he knew that I'm going the same trajectory. So he tells me, let's take a walk.
This is as soon as you enter the compound, you have
As soon
that
as I get to the
telepathic
compound,
conversation.
He talks to me and tells me, let's take a walk. And he tells me, my son, because he used to call me my son. I used to call him dad, never grandpa. Tell me, my son, I've lost my son because of this thing. I myself was an alcoholic, him. And he tells me that our blood, because it's apparently a hereditary gene, our blood doesn't do well with alcohol. I had to stop. Your father didn't, and I've buried him.
Wow.
You have to stop. Suffice to say, that drink I took at Uru Highway is the last drink I've ever taken. I'm 16 years clean today.
I like it. And then, because that journey is also, you do a lot in terms of helping people with alcohol addiction.
I did. Because of that, you have to think back in terms of where you are. Not only did I lose my dad, I've lost 3 classmates from my primary school directly to alcohol. And it's a big epidemic, especially in Western Kenya. People talk about a lot of alcohol abuse in Central Kenya, but NACADA has shown the statistics that Western Kenya is actually leading in terms of alcohol addiction and alcohol consumption in Kenya. And in Vihiga, where I come from, it's a big epidemic. I've lost three direct classmates that we were with in school at one point or another, and I've attended a number of funerals. And the thing is, because of being one of the ones who've really done well in your village, you sort of take care of. So, like, I think one of them, the children of my classmates who behind, you sort of have to take care of the school fees, and it becomes your burden, really. And what has happened is I realize that this is symptomatic way of dealing with these things. We need to do a bit more. We need to engage a little bit more, and that's why I started Zero. Zero is basically. Zero is ZEROH, and basically zero, the zero bit being zero alcohol,
yes.
The OH being, of course, that it's there is what is it called? The OH being it's an alcoholic hydroxide.
Yes.
So there is a whole amalgamation of it in that. But basically, Zero aims to have zero alcohol harm in society, and zero alcohol harm. We're targeting 4 areas. We're targeting 1, functional alcoholics, like I was. So when we think about alcoholism, we think about addicts, those people who sleep in terraces, those people who cannot be able to contain themselves.
Yes.
But the biggest epidemic within alcohol are not even the real addicts. There are people who are functionally addicts, but they're not even aware that they're functionally addicted. And the moment they want to stop is when they realize they can't.
Right.
And that they rely on alcohol to function of who they are.
Yes.
And that's where I was headed.
Right.
And that's what killed my dad. Right. And that's what is ailing a lot of families today.
Right.
Underage drinking. I started drinking while in high school. A lot of parents, we expose alcohol to our children very easily.
Which is true.
We believe that it's part of being liberal.
Which is true.
And what we do not understand is that when it comes to addiction, there are specific genotypes. There are specific genes that if they are exposed to alcohol, and especially at a younger age, it increases the capability for them to actually become addicts in future.
Right.
And it is actually a good idea to delay as much as possible before your children can be exposed to alcohol. So the whole idea of saying, wacha onje kidogo, he's my son. No, you're not helping him. You are actually destroying him. And they can have a lot of fun without necessarily just starting to drink very early. So we work with underage drinking. The other 2 elements is areas that, from statistics, we have a lot of epidemic within it. And one is pregnant and drinking. So a lot of children being born with Down syndrome, a lot of children whose academic capability is insufficient is because of their moms were actually drinking when they were pregnant, and for their particular purpose. For the fact that these children are not there to defend themselves, it is up to us to stand for that and make sure that doesn't happen.
You know, Marvin. Obviously, we were speaking about this, and I obviously I get the rest. The functioning alcoholics and the particular places where it is addiction, and
of course the last one is drinking and driving.
Drinking and driving.
Yes.
But the one that I had that gobsmacks me the most is mothers and drinking. Pregnant women and drinking is a thing.
Pregnant women.
It's still a thing.
It's still a thing. What would happen is that when you're a functional alcoholic, because when you start drinking and you become a functional alcoholic, it's very hard to stop. You don't just say, drinking is not a switch. You don't say it, okay, today I'm now pregnant. There is a particular hormone that will tell me to stop drinking.
Right.
So what would happen is that some things doesn't feel like alcohol. Wine doesn't feel like alcohol. Yet wine has higher alcoholic content than whiskey, sometimes almost than beer. So you find that it is something that you imbibe slowly. You don't necessarily are like, it's once in a while. It's a thing.
And by the way, in fact, you've just chappered me. You've just reminded me. We're not going to mention the brand.
Yes.
But like there are those ones that say this is good for the child.
Yes.
Yeah, the one I'm talking about.
I know, but it's totally. I mean, it's totally wrong in terms of when you think about it. Our one of the few things that I normally, for example, one of the things that Zero does, which is someone wonder why do you do that, is we fight against those people fighting for illicit brews, because we believe that a lot of traditional brews should be legalized, and the major reason why we are facing a lot of alcoholism in society is because we've branded certain traditional brews to be.
Do you know? I was going to ask you that because we were talking about, obviously, God bless his heart, Rigi G was fighting that in the mountain.
Yes,
and me, I know Murat.
I know
from that area code.
Yes.
And then I was about to ask you about Western, because obviously us guys Majirani.
We have Busa.
Yeah, you see. And us guys Chwaka is Gwen Fiddich.
Exactly.
A.K.A. Changa. You see. And now that one is banned. But I'm like, but Busa is more or less, the guys are like, no, that's okay.
No, but you see, even Busa, even Changa, if it's done well, because if it's done from Busa and then made into Kangara and then distilled wine, and if you're in a position to create a scenario whereby, because not everyone is going to be able to afford a drink, not even everyone is going to afford a keg. So what would happen is that what we need safe alcohol within the society. What we're fighting as Zero is we are fighting alcohol harm, and alcohol harm is found when there are shortcuts in alcohol. Abuse happens when there are shortcuts. It doesn't happen because someone did not get a license to get the alcohol. No. You need to make sure that whatever alcohol is being done is actually being done nicely. If it is a traditional type of alcohol, then we cannot be a society that believes everything African is illegal. No. Some of these particular African beliefs and societies have created whatever it is that have created, because whatever we are drinking and we're calling it legal alcohol is traditional Scottish alcohol. It's traditional alcohol from other areas. So what we need to do is we need to be able to build and say, how do we regulate, enhance the capability of making sure that we are creating our own alcohol, but we are educating our people. We know, because even in traditional societies, children were not drinking. I was born in the village. I was initiated in a village in a culture that required our age to drink beer. But as an initiate, I was not allowed to touch alcohol because there was this new, I cannot do that. So what we're looking at is that as Zero, we are very key in terms of determining how best are we able to help our society think about alcohol differently. How best are we able to ensure that even if alcohol is being utilized, it is not harming us? We are not having alcohol when we're about to drive. We are not having alcohol when we are pregnant. And we are not having alcohol to the extent it controls us rather than us controlling it. And all these particular are elements that are key as a society for us to have a very open conversation about alcohol.
I love that. So, in terms of this Zero as a non-profit, are you, I love that in terms of what you're also trying to do in terms of policy.
Yes.
Is it just here in Nairobi and Western? Because there are people listening to you from around the globe. I know some people tuning from Qatar.
Actually, what you're looking at is there's something that we are, because we're starting is called a Zero Initiative. And Zero Initiative, one of the elements that we want to do, like in terms of fighting functional alcoholism, there's something global called Alcoholic Anonymous. And Alcoholic Anonymous, it works probably for the elite of the society who probably understand what it is. But someone in the village would not understand what it is.
I like that.
Anonymous.
Amen. Yes.
For us, what we're trying to do is we're creating what we call a zero cell. And the zero cell is basically a society where we want to take it down to the grassroots. We would like to have individuals, if it is within the village, where a group of people can be coming and meeting regularly. Because what alcohol does, especially at the village level, is to play a social function. This was they need a place where they can actually just go and
sharp,
and
sharp. Yes,
and engage.
Kikao.
And kikao.
Yes.
So what if they could be having such kikao and if this kikao is sober? And this kikao is somewhere where they can discuss about other issues. So we are currently working on a number of engagements. We are on our fundraising drive right now, trying to see what we can do, because what we want to have is we want to utilize our structures. So from our hope is that at the village level, and we can have wards, and then we can have up to the sub-county and the county level, creating a network of cells, and also utilizing virtual platforms and having individuals be able to create what we call as WhatsApp groups. So they can have equivalent cells of just guys having engagement and discussion. So what we believe is sober conversations about alcohol. The idea would be that for you to help, for you to be able to see these people, you do not need to preach to them. And no, you basically need to have sober conversations. They need to understand what are the risks, what are the usefulness, what are the issues around these issues. And they need to be distilled in a language that they can understand at their level. So if it is an elite conversation, if I'm having a discussion with you, Kwach, we can have a very top level understanding of this is exactly what would happen. But if I go to the village and I'm to talk to someone who does not understand my mother tongue, what I do is that I grant a lot of such interviews in my local language. And thankfully, because I grew up in the village, I can speak my local language fluently. I'm always there. I'm always speaking to them and engaging with them. And it helps a lot.
Marvin, you're on a mission. You say on a fundraising campaign, you're using various platforms. You've got a platform here now. So if one wants to contribute towards this zero campaign, how do you touch base?
How do we touch base? So we have GoZero, gozero.org. GoZero, that is G-O.
That is one word?
GoZero, yes, with an H at the end, .org. That is actually being happening. So right now what we are putting in place is that we are placing in place accountability structures. And the accountability structures, because we're just pushing the structures and everything together, we are currently not accepting public donations yet until those accountability structures are put in place.
I like that. Because that's honest.
Yes, because what would happen is that we'd like, when we start accepting donations and stuff like that, we have a way of understanding how is that money being accounted for, and are the trustees in place and everything being placed. So for the time being, I think we'll talk about my company 360 Group. 360 Group is 100% funding zero as our CSR objective. So we take a percentage of our profits and we put into zero, but we are just finalizing our final structures. And by the beginning of next year, if you invite me again, I'll be happy to have this particular discussion.
Yeah, you're going to put that down, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll be happy to, we'll have created the specific accountability structures, we'll have put the trustees in place, and we'll have put the initiatives where this particular funds can push into these particular initiatives. Our target is to have national-wide sober conversations, and we are hoping that we are going to engage with individuals, because you see what would happen is that alcohol brands get ability to talk to people very creatively through music, through concerts, through billboards, and we want to do equivalently. If you find people who are talking about anti-alcohol, there's some person who will find them on the newspapers, it's normally very scary things. No, alcohol kills. We don't want to have that kind of conversation. So we want to have cool conversations. We want to have conversations with teens in a language they understand. We want to have musicians. We want these musicians who can accord when they're sitting, set it. We want to have an equivalent club banger that actually talks about sobriety and manages about sobriety.
I like that.
And that's exactly the kind of language that is going to help us to bring zero conversations and reduce our dependency on alcohol going forward.
Marvin, but as you say, when you come back in the new year,
yes,
clearly you see you're going to have trustees in place.
Yes.
In the next hour,
yes,
because we're coming up to the news,
yes.
We're going to talk about 360.
Perfect.
Okay, but you talk about trustees that you're going to put in place.
Yes.
Life has given you a trusted partner. That also is one of your serendipity moments. Let's talk about from where I come from. It's called Jaber.
Jaber.
Or Moncheri.
Ish.
You're
She's actually a Jaber, come to think of it.
Hey, yo.
She's from South Nyanza.
And if you're not live streaming, you should Jeff, can I describe Marvin's faces that he's now got a glow? Yeah. She's obviously, everyone will say your partner.
Yes.
Your, whether it's husband or wife, you when you're on a public platform, you will obviously ideally give glowing tributes.
Of course.
But you also, the way you write about it, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm like, damn, bruv. I hope I write that way about my Vicky. Tell us that story because, as we lead up into the news, boss.
I'm good. My wife, Dan, and I met at the university a week after I had left my drink. And it was one of those particular things where I think I was going to my fourth year. She was a fresher. It was a Ponyokana fresher moment. And it was one of those things where I think after having a discussion with my grandpa, and it was like, settle down. And my grandpa had actually mentioned to me that he wanted me to settle down by that moment in time.
Yes.
And when I saw her, I think that particular moment felt like this is the lady that I need to be able to take to my pops. I had no to thinking about it, and so it's been 16 years together. Beautiful 16 years.
A beautiful 16 years, and you are now more or less this symbiotic relationship, and you have been blessed with.
We have two boys.
We have two boys.
Yes.
You are clearly, in terms of mentorship as well, Marvin.
Yes.
Not only do you mentor, obviously, the I don't want to call them anyway, young people.
Yes.
Right. In terms of now, how old are they? The boys.
My boy is 8, and I have one who is 5.
Okay. You see, like now in this journey of life.
Yes.
When you meet young people, and because now this is where 360 ties in.
Yes.
Yeah. When I stopped catching pints, when I stopped drinking.
Yes.
Do you know what for me the biggest test was?
How far back is this?
And it's this year.
Oh. Okay.
It's that one of can I go into a club again and have a good time?
No, that's a big thing.
Right.
It's a big thing. It's a big question.
Right.
It's a big thing. We are one of the few things we are working as zero.
Yes.
And is we are looking for establishments, alcohol-free establishments that people can have fun.
Right.
And we are branding them Zero Bust establishment. But we are also working because right now we just started a conversation with Heineken Zero.
Bus.
And
I like that. Yes.
And it's going in the right direction.
Right.
And it's the beautiful thing of saying, can you go to a club and enjoy an alcohol-free? So yes, we are having those particular discussions, and I get your point, and I get what you really mean.
Before we started 360,
yes,
because I want to spend in the next hour, we've got like 20 so minutes to talk about, because the 360 journey is what fascinates me.
Okay.
Before 360, but you're already a CEO.
Yes, I was a CEO early. I was the CEO early.
Yes.
And that's what would happen, because I think what I did is that I got into the Insurance Institute.
Yes.
And it was basically it didn't have it had a secretariat, but didn't have proper structures in place. So I got into the institute to provide advisory.
Right.
I think by then I just finished and my studies. I was feeling top of my game.
Yes.
And within my advisory, I think I'm talking to the organizing committee.
Right.
The committee are like, why don't you come and work for us?
Right.
I mean, whatever you're telling us or you're advising us, is you can come and do. And that's exactly what happened. So I became the admin and executive officer of the institute.
Right.
And that direct learning, because because what would happen is that having been a student leader at the university,
Yes.
I was organizing secretary of the University of Nairobi, SONU, Students' Union.
Yes.
I was used to organizing. I was used to being in a leadership position.
Indeed.
So when I got into the corporate world, I already had that leadership mindset.
Bas.
So it became very easy to sort of fit in directly into
Yes.
that specific mindset.
Yes.
And therefore, at the institute, it was really putting structure together for the professionals, so insurance professionals.
Yeah.
So Insurance Institute is equivalent to ISPAC for
Yep.
accountants, or LSK for lawyers.
Bas.
And obviously, because when you do maths, the inclination is normally towards actuarial and a lot of insurance related. And I also did something called ACI, some insurance. I've done a lot of professional papers, including insurance professional papers along the way. So you are within. So I have a bit of professional papers within there.
Pause. You're young. You're CEO of the institute. You're top of the game.
Yes.
Then one day you say, and you're young. I repeat.
Yes.
I'm going to change this. Why and when? We'll talk about that after the news. You know, in the era of apartheid, and there was the Hugh Masekelas, there was the Miriam Makebas, but do you know what? These were the guys who put argumentative, but in my opinion, and you know what they say about opinions, man, they're like buttocks, everyone's got one. On the stage, on the global map, it is the people of Ladysmith Black Mambazo, right, brother?
Very true.
You know, and Shabalala, one of them there says, the day when Paul Simon called him and basically told him to do this song,
Yes.
it just cracks me up. Says, Mr. Shabalala, this is Paul Simon, will you work for me? And then the rest of this is history.
This is history.
Speaking of history, you should see the way this song resonates with our guests today on Transformational Thursday. By the way, that's Paul Simon and obviously Ladysmith Black Mambazo with diamonds on the soles of his shoes. What does that song mean for you, brother? I remember that Simon and Garfunkel. That one is when you meditate.
Exactly.
This one I can see there. You are inside.
This is a main side. This is a main side. This is a main side.
Yeah.
One of my favorite places to be is actually Cape Town, and there's a particular vibe around South Africa.
Bas.
When you drop it just from the airport,
Yes.
and one of the few things that has happened is that for whatever reason,
Yes.
the story of Nelson Mandela resonates with me very particularly.
Right.
I find this journey very, very, very assuring. And I think there's a particular time, I think he just finished, and there was Paul Simon, and Paul Simon is singing this song, and Nelson Mandela joins him on stage, and it just melts up my heart. Right. I don't know whether it is that particular moment that specifically just got me into the song, but I've loved Paul Simon. I mean, the Sound of Silence is Paul Simon who composed it.
Right.
I find his musical knack it resonates with me. Some genius that is a lot of it unsaid, but I can resonate with it. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song for me. One of my top songs.
Marvin Sissey, man.
Talk to me.
Wow. Our guest today on Transformational Thursday. I was just telling Marvin that his story resonates so profoundly with me. And Marvin, when I look at your musical taste,
yes,
okay, from the Simon and Garfunkels to obviously right now Paul Simon,
yes,
and then the Papa Wembas of this world. What is you broke your voice? There you was, and that changed the direction. Some would say. In fact, you say it, because you're in the choir.
Okay.
And what does music mean to you, brother?
There's someone who said, it was Nietzsche, who said, without music, life would be a mistake. I feel that music defines the direction of life. I find that within properly done music, composed as it should be, and as I can tell you, I was a music student, it resonates with you. It realigns your brain cells in a manner that makes you to perform optimally. be in the moment, it releases the endorphins required, the serotonins, the dopamine, to put you in the mood to be at your best. So I find that good music is my productivity hack.
I like that. Listen, you can tell he's a scientist, eh? Dopamines and dolphins. Sometimes you think those are cuss words. But listen, endorphin ni wewe. Listen, so listen, brother.
Yes.
Before the news, we were talking, you are a bit of a genius. You're good at the math. Then obviously you're good at the numbers. You're a student leader. Pato Sono, University of Nairobi. Graduate and then you go to an institute. You're basically giving them a picture. They tell you, no. See, you're the one who's talking, and you've got all of these two ideas and policies we put in place. How about you come and do that right here yourself as the CEO? It's the Insurance Institute, no?
Yes.
So you're the CEO, you're a young tuck. You've obviously got guidance. There's a bit of a rudder for you at that particular point in time, because there you were. You had met, she was a fresher, and there you were about to graduate. So you've got direction, you've got focus, you've stopped catching pints.
Yeah.
Because that agenda that it's going to hit the ground running officially next year. It's called the Zero Campaign, with an H at the end, by the way. You now basically have got that direction. So is it CEO or head? What's your title at the Insurance Institute?
Executive officer.
You're the executive officer. You're that for 3 years.
Yes.
Marvin, it's year 3. Okay. When does obviously you're ambitious, and like I said, life's a journey. Some would say we're the top of the mountain. Yes? But even with the mountain, once you get to the top, you must come down.
Okay.
Tell me about that day when you said, this is not enough.
Less about this is not enough, but more like this is not the direction I want to go to. I think it's more to do with the fact that up until that particular time, I was more engrossed on my numbers. And I was dealing with a lot to do with things that had to do in terms of the journey that I had been looked into. But while there, I started this executive master's in organizational communication, where I felt really at home from Indiana University. So by the time I'm actually finishing year 3, I'm finalized my executive master's in an area of communication. But also by that time, from my time as a student leader, I'm editing the university student magazine for science students. I'm a man of letters. At particular that time, I'm one of the biggest business dailies in the countries. I'm writing for them already. So I'm more inclined towards communications. I'm more inclined towards letters more than anything else. But the other thing that I actually got is on my column. Every time I used to pen off my column, anytime I had to write about something insurance related, I had to go to my board and get approval, because I am speaking on their behalf as an institution. And that used to irk me, because sometimes, you have a column, you have to be able to push it in, and you have 2 days to go, and you still have to take it back to approval. And this is your own opinion, thoughts. Or you have to keep writing this. I'm not writing this as the Insurance Institute. I'm writing as myself. And I said, this is too much for me. I think at that particular moment in time, I finished, and I think what I did is that after I completed, especially because I was doing organizational communication,
right?
And one of the few things I realized was a lot of the organizations we were dealing with,
right,
because by that time, a lot of insurance companies, I was organizing a lot of events for insurance companies and everything else. And one of the areas that I realized is that organizations used to struggle in telling the story. A lot of these organizations, just like us individuals, have stories, but those stories were not coherent. Those stories were not being told the way they should. And I felt need to step out and I need to help these organizations to learn how to tell their story.
Now, one would wonder, brother. Yeah.
Yes.
Now we're like back in the day, because there were PR agencies. Remember the Ginadines of this world?
Yes.
So are we talking about SMEs, or just generally?
Actually, what would happen is that because I got because I was working at top level in terms of the institution, we were working with bigger companies and everything else.
Yes.
So I got direct networks
Yes.
with what I would say were major brands. So it was much easier immediately I stepped out to have discussions with people who are definitely peers, because then you're already with you've talked to people at Association of Kenya Insurance Regulatory Authority. You've created the kind of right networks, and then by that time you are writing a column in the papers, so your name is much bigger than you are. So the name, when I stepped out, the name, and that's the first name of the company was Marvin Sissey Consulting Group.
There we go.
Because the name Marvin Sissey was big at that particular moment in time. It was big because of what I was writing, and my column was quite very popular then, and then it was big because of every letter going out to the companies was having my name, so it was much easier to actually just step in and say, hey, we can do this business for you. But because consulting is a grey hair business, and I was really young, and I had this youthful face, I used to make sure that a lot of the time it would be, the initial discussions would be having other people alongside me. So we had to work along with a lot of other people. We worked very closely with a lot of other people. But what really got me into was we started what you call capacity building and training element. So for you to prove you're good at what you do, there's no better way than to actually attract someone for a day training and tell them, I want to train you in this particular area. When someone comes in the morning, they look at you and they doubt you. When they listen to you over the day, by evening, they give you the contract, because you have been able to confirm to them, you know your craft, despite your age. You know your craft because of what you've done. And that gave me the confidence to actually just venture and believe and say, hey, I'm going to help you write your story. Because at that particular moment, I'd already, and that's why I'm saying about serendipity. Growing up with my grandparents taught me storytelling, which I believe has ended up being the most important attribute that I've used to earn my bread later in life. I've actually earned my life just telling stories, telling my own story, helping organizations to tell their story, helping organizations to create the story, to curate the story, to express the story in a manner that relates to the stakeholders that need to listen to that story.
Marvin, you said you've described yourself as a man of letters, which is very true. I've told you that. But in the past, I've just realized something.
Yes.
You're a very giving person. You're very unselfish. Because just now,
yes,
you've shared what to me is a secret, one of the recipes to success. You said that, if you want to get something from an individual or an organization, invite them in the morning, then 1, 2, 3, 4. What you said.
Yes.
That is kind of like a mentorship thing, but you've just shared something that somebody can also use. Why have you always been this way?
There's someone who says that I helped someone to climb a mountain, and at the end of it, I discovered I was on top of the mountain as well.
I like that. Hold on. Hey. Nakuanga na makofi hapa pali fulani. Just hold on for a second. No. Just Jakababa. I want that one there. The clip. Very good. Go on. Sorry.
So I find that the thing about life is that your value is only appreciated when you help other people to get their value, and that when you help other people to get their value, they're more than happy to help you get your value. And if you live your life that way, you will never lack.
Now, Marvin, the cynic, the pessimist, will say, yeah, well, that comes from people who have reached self-actualization. You know?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Let me take you back to a moment in high school.
Sharp.
We used to have this thing called study groups. Now, these study groups would have students, and I remember how we were able to capture maths. I wasn't a very good math student initially because I'm a man of letters. So I remember I used to fail maths in Form 1. But at least Form 2 when we started, what I did, I discovered that anything I go when we went to study group, I would share what I know.
Wow.
And I discovered the moment I shared what I know, I remembered it in exams.
Wow.
So every time we would have these study groups, when you share, there are those individuals who would come in, and then they would come to Parasite.
Yes.
They know something, but they don't want to share because they're using that as their trump card.
Indeed.
This is what they're supposed to get in ahead of you.
Yes.
But what we discovered is that people who shared more, people who openly gave out, this is what I have, this is what I get, tended to have more. It's a rule of life. I think life will automatically give you back tenfold what you give out. So you can never give out enough.
I like that.
You can never give out enough. And trust me, however much you give out, it will come back in truckloads.
I love that. So we start Marvin, Sissey, communications, is it? Consulting. Then after a year,
what happened is that everyone who came to Marvin Sissey Consulting Group felt the only person who can serve them is Marvin Sissey.
I like that.
It became a little bit critical that if I'm to grow and if I'm to scale, that I might have to get out of this name. Remember, the name Marvin Sissey
it's 2013.
It's 2013, yes.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I had to, when people met me, because initially when they saw my name, I had to now, this is not, for them to understand this is a Kenyan.
Thank you. Yes.
My
I was going to say that, one would think it's West African.
Yeah. So she says my grandfather's name.
Yeah.
So there was that thing that someone felt, this is someone foreign, this is someone.
Yeah.
And we tend to want to work with such people.
Right.
So in a way, it helped me. That name, Marvin Sissey, helped me to succeed in campus politics because no one could place me on any side of the divide. It could help me succeed in many other particular ways. So in many ways, my name has actually been a very big contributor to a lot of the successes I've been able to get one way or another, simply because of the fact that it would be a conversation starter. But that said and done is that at the moment I'm running Marvin Sissey Consulting Group, I was just dealing with consulting and in mostly management and communication related issues. I discover at one moment, at that particular moment, I discover I was looking for a gym in my area. So I'm living in my area and I'm looking for a gym, and I live in the South Sea area. And by then, the only gym that was available then was at the Bomb Hotel. And it was quite expensive. I think it was around, even by then, more than 10,000 shillings a month, which I felt was very expensive. Yes. And then the other one that was available was a small rickshaw-made gym, I wouldn't necessarily name it, that was below standard and was not providing what needs to be done. Yes. So what happened is I and a few friends...
By the way, when Marvin says below standard, not below standard group, it's below standard in terms of quality.
Yes, standard set the standard.
Because guys, someone might be thinking,
no,
there's an underground here somewhere.
Below standards.
Yes.
So what would happen is that at that juncture, I and a few of my friends were like, why? I mean, we can set up a small room together and start working out. So that's exactly what I did.
So now timeline, is this still 2013 or?
No, this is around 2014.
Very good, 2014.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna just, before you go on.
Yes.
Why was that gym important to you?
Fitness was important at that moment in time because I think it was at particularly that juncture where I felt that for me to be able to think better as an entrepreneur, I needed to be fit.
Because we have now just started 360.
We've started 360, the journey.
Why 360 in terms of name?
360 in terms of the name was simply because of the fact that I realized my mind was racing through so many business ideas, and I didn't want to be setting up a business every new day. So I said, every business I'm going to start from today, I'll just take the name, I'll then use the prefix of that name, and use the suffix 360 and throw it on everything. And all of them are going to be controlled by one holding company, 360 Group. So I'm just going to have one company, 360 Group, and every business I'm ever going to start will be a subsidiary of 360 Group.
You make me smile, my friend. So we're celebrating a decade.
Yes.
It is 10 years, clearly 2014, 2024.
Yes.
Where are we now? We started with the gym.
We started Fitness 360. When we started Fitness 360, I realized very soon that I didn't have the software to run the gym. And I looked around for software and they could not find the software. So I got a group of young people and told them I need some kind of proper software to be able to run Fitness 360. And so I got techies, and that's the moment when I got involved in techies. So we worked out with this particular techies to make an ERP for the gym. And after I finished having software that runs the gym, I realized, the fact that I was looking for this software, it means other gyms didn't have it. The end result is that we're now providing our software to quite a good number of gyms. I think if our gym is not using our FitROS software, I don't know which one it's using. So we ended up a mechanism whereby we now started having a software that we could be able to rent to other particular gyms as well, for them to be able to use our software as a service.
And what's that division called?
Technician. So we have Tech 360, and the Tech 360 is interested in all matters technology,
right.
And we have interested specifically in ERPs.
Right.
So we have an interest in fitness. We have an interest. We started something for
Marvin. Sorry for the uninitiated, including myself. What's an ERP?
An enterprise resource program.
Thank you.
It's basically a program that helps you to run the day-to-day of any business.
Sure.
So what happens is that a lot of the mistakes that most people do is whenever they run a business, one is that you want to run it manually. You're not going to run more than one business if you're running it manually. The only reason that enables me to diversify my business lines is that firstly is creating systems, and the first element of creating a system is making sure that you have the technological ability to ensure that you can manage the sales, you can manage what is happening, you can manage the stuff all in one platform. You should be able to have a dashboard that manages your business.
You're a sharp pencil, clearly. Who told you that? Did you read that? Did you have a mentor who told you that?
My engagement and my exposure. As I mentioned to you that a bit of my especially executive training was also international based.
Yes.
And then the fact that I'd also been at the institute basically meant that I was also getting what we call proper standards in terms of how organizations are being managed. And that exposure was very helpful when I was starting my business. So whenever you start a business, that's the other thing. The little bit of employment, the 1-2 years helped a lot. It helped a lot in terms of understanding how do organizations run, where would happen. So I got mentorship through that specific learning process of being at a very top of a small organization, whereby I was at the apex of everything. So I was understanding what was in finance, what was happening in this area. And the other aspect is these small courses we do. Also come in very handy. For example, I've done a CPA 1. I have to have a basic understanding of finance. I've done a bit of insurance. I've done so a lot of these particular short courses. And then now the other thing is that around the same time that I started engaging with these software guys, so I got a number of character development from people trying to, work out with software people. And I had to learn what is so hard about this thing. And that's when I got interested in a bit of coding. Just basic. Right. Everything what I would do is that every time you'd get a challenge, the idea would be for you to just learn, not enough for you to become an expert and understand, no. Enough for you not to be bullshit.
I like that.
So that if now we are now writing code for something else, when you come in and tell me we are at this level, I can actually look at it and say, okay, we are at that particular level, because you also understand it in terms of where you want to be. So the tech division, that's how it started. So right now we are in quite a number of key areas.
Right.
One of the other key area is something called Insurance Cloud.
Right.
Insurance Cloud is a software that specifically runs brokers, softwares and agencies, and right now we have one for insurance companies as well.
Right.
It's just basically an ERP that helps them to run their day-to-day. And the different thing about the softwares we offer is that they're all cloud-based in terms of the fact that we are able to remove paperwork, we are able to remove reliance on servers at point, and therefore anyone, including your phone, including any device you have, becomes a device that can help you to run your business. And anyone who is a member of your sales team or anyone can be able to get a dashboard that they can relate with you from wherever they are.
All this is under Tech 360.
Tech 360.
Okay.
So under Tech 360, what would happen is that how I've been able to succeed to push a lot of the subsidiaries that I have is rather than me being the one running them, once we get someone who is a proper partner, we would start a subsidiary, and in some cases, for example, even Insurance Cloud, you'd have them even have a management and shares and running. So you have a team of management that you can set up that have a skin in the game, including shares and capability and ownership. And this is what you want to do. So that ultimately your aim now becomes more in terms of probably marketing.
Yes.
Because my main key area as CEO is one, Chief Marketing Officer. Mine is to look for business. Make sure you get your business. But operations are not your day-to-day doing. So you have someone who can be able to manage that. Then, of course, within the communications consulting, which we continued, and we had the Storyfied 360, which is basically helping organizations.
So that is 3 now. There's Storyfied 360, there's Fit 360, and there's Tech 360.
The Tech 360.
How many more are there?
There are quite a number. We'll discuss them as we go.
So you were saying, about Storyfied 360.
So Storyfied 360 is basically the PR arm of 360 Group. And Storyfied 360 works very closely with another brand called 360 Digital. The reason is because organizations need two services. They need PR services, and a number of them who need PR services or communications-related services also tend to have a bit of a problem in terms of managing their digital communications, especially in terms of social media and everything in that regard. So we have a team, because I provide under Storyfied 360 very high-end level overview in terms of this is what you want to do. But then under Digital 360, what we do is that a lot of organizations currently have their own digital teams, but what we do is we do capacity building for their teams. So in terms of understanding what you need to do for your search engine optimization, for your social media management, what exactly are you doing? And are we in a position to help encourage or engage your team so that we can do this for you? And it might mean maybe you need part of us to be able to do your work for a while, but our main aim is never to do your work forever. We don't want to be your forever agency. We want to be your agency that helps you to establish your internal agencies that can work, so that now going forward you can be on your own and you can really move on, but you have capability to understand from the time being.
I like that. When you say not your favorite, do you usually say what? Is it like it's going to be a quarter? How much we'll do this for 6 months?
Mostly it's around between 6 months to between 3 to 6 months. A majority of organizations we've ended up having a year with them.
Right.
So we've worked with quite a number of leading brands within the region, and we also work with other leading PR agencies who would need. Some of them have already contracts with bigger accounts, but they need help in terms of this is what you'd like to do. So what would happen is that my key facet that I bring on the table, the fact that I have understanding of communications and how it works, and the fact that I got interested a lot in coding and related matters, also made me very good at digital marketing.
Indeed.
And understanding what is required. So, and because I don't want to be on the doing on an everyday basis, I discovered that I'm actually better off in terms of capacity building. So I do now, that brings in another angle which grows all the others. We have Training 360. Now Training 360 basically trains. So it basically you bring a lot of these people coming in and we're just doing the training. So a lot of these organizations are actually related.
Yeah,
so you'll find
symbiotic.
They're very symbiotic in terms of each other. So you find that you are able to manage all your 360 entities in one particular forum in terms of what you want to do. But a lot of our issues and what we grow in are actually issues, challenges we face on a daily, and then we discover we can actually solve them. For example, the tech side started because we had a challenge in terms of managing our software for the gym.
Yes.
But we had another challenge that we grew. We wanted, around 2020, we wanted to do a bit of
This
around
is
2020.
this is DC during COVID.
Yes, during COVID.
Yes.
We needed to do. My office then was at Village Market.
Sharp.
And I live in South Sea.
Yes.
My gym is in South Sea.
Right.
I have a lot of space in
Right.
terms of where my gym is at
Yes.
Fitness 360.
Yes.
I could not be able to go.
Sorry, for somebody who's looking for a good gym, where is that?
Fitness 360.
Yes,
at
which is
KPA South Sea. KPA South Sea.
Okay.
Yes. So what would happen is that Fitness 360 is in South Sea. So now I was thinking, come on, I don't want to be commuting to Village Market every day. I need to be able to upgrade this place so that I'm able to have my other office here. And some of my staff were like, that sounds like a good idea.
Yes.
So I was looking for an interior designer to help do that particular work. And I got outrageous quotes. I didn't know these guys are that expensive. And then I realized all these guys who are doing this were actually just architects, and some of them are looking into this. So I asked my guy, Kwani, how much are architects paid nowadays? And they seem to be. So I realized I could actually get an architect and hire one under 360 for a few months. So I put a banner. I'm looking for an architect instead of looking all this. So I got an architect. We were able to agree on a salary. I'm like, I want to start an architectural design firm with specifics to interior design and everything. Your first project is here already, but I want to give you a short-term contract. We agreed on a 6 months.
Marvin, stop.
And that's how Design 360 started.
There we go. Listen, Marvin.
Yes.
Now, because now we're running out of time, because you and I, with Jeff, we've got to get him in Jan. How many babies? How many do we have?
How many are they? It should be around 9.
When a problem presents itself, you create a solution.
Yeah.
For yourself.
I do. And I make sure that I have a team that can work with it and run with it.
A lot of people have got this thing of founder syndrome, but where letting go is very hard. Why is that easier for you?
The moment you realize that you do not have to be the one doing it, the moment you realize that you have, because one of your thing is you have to realize what is your strengths. I normally say that three types of people. The people who are called thinkers.
I like that.
Then the people who are called, I call them thinkers. These are innovators. And then the people who are called doers, who do things.
Let's say that one more time. Thinkers, tinkers, and doers. Come on.
You need to realize where you are on the three.
Do you realize with time, or you need to realize that at the get-go?
You need to realize over time, what is your good thing? Are you an executor? If you're given a system, do you work?
But I'm going to ask you a fair question, Marvin.
Yes.
Because what if somebody realizes that after 2 years from startup, or after 5 years, you seem to have, okay, it's very unfair. Is there a cut-off time to figure out whether you're a thinker, or a doer?
No, there isn't.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. Mark Sanders started KFC at what? Was he 65 years old?
Yes.
I mean, it's never too late. If you think about Elon Musk has just become the richest person from around 10 years ago. I mean, he's been tinkering with a lot of other things.
Jeff Bezos,
he's done a lot of other things.
Amazon was a hot
So what you realize is that because all my businesses and everything that I've done, I'm only starting. I'm not just getting to 40. So what has happened is everything I've learned over the last 10 years, this right now, this particular time, this juncture I am at right now, I'm at that juncture where now my Tesla will come out, my SpaceX will come out, and it might come from either of these particular babies that I'm nurturing. But the whole point would be that even the other and all of them, because the other thing that we were taught to specialize. And even our academic system was meant to, as you grow into a narrow field.
Yes.
And you are it was an insult to be said you're a jack of all trades because you become a master
of none. Yes.
But the reality is that you can be a jack of many trades and a master of many trades. You can actually master many trades.
Right.
You can master the same way you understand, the same way we speak English, Swahili, and you can speak Zulu.
Yes.
The same way you can run 3 different businesses.
I like that.
The same way you can be able to indulge yourself. So I just 360 Design just designed the library for Lenana School.
Good one.
We did one for them recently, and everyone was amazed in terms of this is the work that you do at 360 Design.
Yes.
And you're like, yes, we do that at Design 360 because now you have an architectural arm and we have an architectural arm and we have a number of engineers working around us and we are providing architectural design for them. And what has happened to that? Well, the moment I started on that regard, I do a lot of reading. So every day I occupy 2 to 3 hours of my day. And you see 1 hour is just 4% of your day. So 3 hours is just 12% of your day. I spend 12 hours of my day learning something that I don't know. It could be architecture, it could be coding, it could be pottery, it could be anything that I'm just catching my hands on. And I discover that the difference between you and a doctor, coach, is just a few hours of learning. If you take a number of biology books and read, then you become a doctor tomorrow. There is nothing that prevents you from becoming a specialist in multiple fields of interest. And if you become a specialist just enough that you can now deal with specialists in that area, it basically means you can start your hospital tomorrow. You don't have to be a doctor. You just have to understand how hospitals work. You can start your hotel tomorrow. You don't have to be a chef. You just have to understand how the hotel system works. You can start your media agency or your media company tomorrow. You don't have to be a media person. You just have to understand how it works. And you don't need too much information for you to get that. No. You need just sufficient level of understanding for you not to be bullshit.
We need a part 2. We definitely need a part 2. But before we end part 1.
Yes.
You're a man of letters. You're a writer.
I am.
Marvin Sissey, it's been a decade with what I'll now officially call the 360 conglomerate. Biashara ni ngumu bana, watu wanasema. How are you thriving?
Business. I mean, anything
There's
good
a business person listening to you, right?
Anything good is hard.
Oh, anything I like that answer.
Anything good is hard.
It's a damn good answer.
Yes. And I would want to say that specifically if you choose the journey of entrepreneurship is a kind of journey where you sometimes are forced to get out of the aeroplane and fall down and develop your parachute on your way down. That's a very risky enterprise you're doing right there. You might thrive.
This guy speaks like a prophet.
You might thrive, or you might hit your head.
I like that.
The point is that the ability to thrive or bust and that particular risk that you take on a daily basis is probably a risk you take in any other aspects. Anytime you go to sleep, you put your alarm clock for the following day. You're not assured you'll wake up tomorrow. You put your alarm clock nevertheless.
Amen.
It is the same belief that you have to put in your business, but this is what most people and most business people do not do. Most business people do not take realistic stock of what they have or what they're getting into. They don't get to understand well what they're going into. You have to take time and understand. Secondly,
I like that.
Whenever business people make projections, there's a big mistake that they do. And that is you create a spreadsheet and you assume you're going to make a profit from year one. You have to provide for losses for the first 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
You have to provide for losses. I've not seen a business plan that tells me I'm going to lose money year one, I'm going to lose money year two. And because you don't have that expectation of losing money, when you lose money, you get surprised.
Yes.
The first few elements of any business, you will lose money.
I like that.
You will lose money.
I like that.
And what would happen is that you need to be able to learn, how do I engage with losing money? The other aspect that you have to look at as a business person is beware of debt. Debt is one of the biggest elements that actually kills African businesses. Why? Because, and one of the biggest debts, if I might live here,
Yes.
I had to stop one of my clients.
Right.
Who was paying me more than almost $500,000 every month.
Wow.
Because my conscience could not allow me to continue handling them as a client.
This was your retainer.
This was a retainer. And this was a client who was selling a logbook loan. What would happen is that, and I'll tell this to any business person, if you have a car and you want to get a loan, sell your car. Sell it today. Uza. You downgrade that car. If it was a Prado, buy a small Vitz. Use the balance to put into your business. Do not use your money, your car, to go into a financial institution that will tell you they are giving you 2% per month interest. That basically means 2% per month.
Yes.
That means 24, but mostly it's 5%.
Right.
That basically means 5% per month.
Yes.
Multiply that per month times 12.
60.
That is 60%
Yes.
damn interest. There is no business you can do that can give you 60% interest quatch. Therefore, logbook loans will kill your business. If you have a problem, financial problem,
Jeff, these
chukua
clips
matatu,
were nanning them, ne?
chukua matatu, take whatever you can, but do not take a loan on your car to put into your business, because it will not come back. You will sell that car ultimately. Go the slow way. If you want, you'd rather go to someone, make connections, make friends, go to friends. And the reason why I love my Islam friends, because a lot of people say Somalis are growing. But the main reason why Somalis are actually growing is because their religion does not necessarily encourage a lot of loans. So they borrow and they lend each other. We have our money. Those people within our families who are going into businesses, a majority of it might go, but let's help them. Talk to 100 people, let them give you 1,000 bob each. Let's not just changa for people because of barriers on WhatsApp groups.
Come on.
Let's changa for them to start their businesses. Let's changa for them to make them. Because when we send them to financial institutions, you need patient capital to start a business. There is no way I would have started 360 if I had not made the savings I had done in my job.
Yes.
And those savings, I was willing to say, I can be in a position to do this. But if I started on a bad loan,
Right.
and I need to pay back that loan,
Yes.
and I need to pay that loan and do what, that would fish. Second aspect, and the last one, is one of your biggest elements you have to look at is your rent. So because someone wants to start a consulting business, they say that consulting business has to have an address like Westlands. It has to have an address. No, my office is in South Sea.
Yes.
And I mean, I bag the big bucks.
Yes.
Do not conform to the perceptions of other people
Right.
to create a value that is for them and not for you.
Right.
So as a business person, you have to think about yourself selfishly to cut down your costs as much as you can,
Yes.
and only engage in elements where you know that you are going to get back your money. That basically means that a biggest percentage of your budget as a business person has to be marketing. So when you start, the first element you put aside is marketing money, because your business is all about what you sell, ultimately. So as a chief executive officer of your business, you're the chief marketing officer.
I like that, yes.
Anywhere I am, I'm selling my business. I'm selling what I do. And I'm selling many things. And I'm selling depending on what I do. There are people who know me as an architect,
Yes.
because I bid for them houses.
Yes.
There are people who know me as an interior designer, because I have interior design for them. Yes. There are people who know me as a storyteller,
Yes.
because I do stories and I'm invited to places to actually tell them. There are people who know me for PR. There are people who know me for the software that we provide for insurance agencies and brokers. There are people who know me for different things, but I'm always selling. Always selling.
Always selling. As a writer, the story of your life, what would the title of the book be, Marvin? Nelson Mandela's long walk to freedom, remember?
Yeah.
What is Marvin Sissey's?
I feel serendipity has defined me.
Yeah.
And serendipity is a big word that basically says happy chance.
I like that.
It would have the word serendipity in the title. I have not put the word play around it. But I feel that my journey has been my journey of serendipity. It's been a journey of happy chances. It's been a journey that has created the chance, and I've only been lucky enough to take them because I was prepared to.
Serendipity, the journey of chance. But that is because he has taken those chances. And this story at Taken In has clearly only just begun. And you can hear the enthusiasm. I hope you who wants to get into Biashara, you've learned something. And remember about the Zero campaign. By the way, we're looking it up. So you said you gave an address. Was there a social media?
Go Zero.
Yes.
GoZero.org.
Go Zero with an H at
With
the
an
end.
H at the end, yes.
.org.
Yes.
Get onto it. And then also to follow you. You've got to follow Marvin Sissey, man. How do you do that?
On Twitter, Marvin Sissey, MarvinSissey. That is my Twitter handle. I think that is the same one on my LinkedIn. I do a lot of, I write weekly, at least something on
Yes.
my on my LinkedIn
Yes.
article. I also, you'll find my columns on a number of articles. So if you just type my name on Google, you'll probably find a number of articles that I write, but I write quite regularly.
And at the rate this guy is going, he's going to start a car company. When I say it's a car, he's going to start manufacturing motogaris and a fashion label.
We're buying and selling cars from next year. We are starting the biggest buying and selling cars in the region, and that will be from next year. I'll give you the full name of it, but it has a name deal in it. It's the best deal you'll probably get.
Please don't start a political party. Marvin to say,
What?
listen, when you start the Zero campaign,
We actually just started. We'll now put the interventions.
Yes, sorry.
We will put the structures to bring in the public. So that's the trustees and everything. That's when we start on those.
so
aspects.
you promise you'll be back to give us the 411,
I will.
right?
I will. We are just finalizing on it because I think we have a number of partnership we are pushing with a number of partners, and then as I said, before you start picking money from people, I think it's best you have all the credibility you've set up.
Did I not tell you that was profound, brother? Thanks for coming on 21 Questions. We're going to play out with a song for you. It is a Papa Wemba, Yolele.
Yolele.
That one, when it's playing,
Yes.
where are you?
Yolele was a song that my grandfather and I used to listen to it together when we were waiting for FC Leopards to be playing our shemejis and beating them.
You see now, and because we've run out of time, otherwise I would have engaged him in that story. Don't break up a happy home. I kind of like you. My brother.
Yes.
Thanks for coming through, man.
Thank you, guys.
Now listen, as Marvin goes, we also need to bounce. And our man Jeff, brilliant, courtesy of our show producer Jeff, Michelle there on the socials. Waswahili would say, Asamaya kesho ni mwongo, but we'll see you tomorrow. It's TGIF. We've got a guest DJ in the building. You've got to stick around. You've got to be here to find out who that is. Yes, we had this one from 1973. From the album Ship Ahoy, there was the OJs. And on a Throwback Thursday, you didn't feel it, Sana. Shame. Damn shame. But winning today was Heavy Diddle 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 D from his album from 1991, Peaceful Journey. This was his version. Anyway, Heavy D's version 1. Sorry, I've messed up on that one, Kidogo. So as we say, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind constantly be at your back. Will you be half an eye in heaven? Before that, the bloody devil knows that we are dead. Peace. Where's the drama today? Wow, at Real Madrid. Bye-bye.